Hi, Joe McHugh again from the Loyola Spirituality Center. For well over 30 years, our business has been helping people develop their own spiritual lives by beginning to name, to notice, and to give expression to their spirituality, to respond to God's invitation in each of our lives to grow both in holiness and in wholeness. Lots of you asked us to talk more about spiritual direction, so I thought today I'd give you more of a picture of what that's about. Spiritual direction, spiritual mentoring. Let me tell you a story that maybe will illustrate really what's involved in spiritual direction. There's an ancient Christian story that has something of a Zen koan quality to it. And it goes like this. Two beggars met on a road, and the one said to the other, "Follow me. I think I know where there's food." What I'd invite you to do is listen carefully, listen patiently, as a number of people talk about their going after food, real food, food that will last.
When I first started spiritual direction, it was a time in my life when I had a lot of things colliding all at once. I had been working in business and was very successful and had everything I thought I wanted materially, and I did a lot of traveling, and I had lots of money, and then very suddenly my dad died, and it just pulled the rug out from underneath my life, and everything I thought I had looked really empty, and I was very confused about what to do. I had been raised Catholic, and I never really experienced God before.
When I first began spiritual direction, maybe 14 years ago, I actually had been working with a therapist around some issues of depression and other things. And at a certain point, she said that she felt I had gotten to the point where I was really starting to address issues of spirituality and God and things like that. And she felt very strongly that therapists really should not, that wasn't their job to help people deal with what she considered to be more spiritual questions. And she suggested that I might seek spiritual direction, which was a new idea to me. I was not very familiar with it, but she'd always given me good advice on other things, so I decided I would go ahead and try that.
A friend brought me to direction. We had worked together and discussed the value of spiritual direction for a long time, and decided to do it together. And so my first experience was group spiritual direction.
I started spiritual direction about 8 years ago, and at the time I was beginning the discernment toward religious life.
I was not experiencing great problems or anything like that. I was fairly successful and continue to be fairly successful in our United Methodist terms. So it's really been almost a wellness kind of thing. It helps me focus. It's really grown me a lot.
All of these folks expressed a deep desire in themselves to really know God. They weren't satisfied with knowing about God. And that's the same kind of desire that each of us has in our own lives. That is to really engage the Spirit that speaks to us, to really develop our spirituality. When we carve out time to really listen to ourselves and to listen to God and to find that point where the two intersect, it's at that point that we begin to get an experience of what God can be like and how our spirituality can begin to lead us, to move us in new directions. Here's some more examples of how a spiritual direction has led some folks to find real food and to listen with the heart, to listen with the ears of the heart, to engage in what we call spiritual listening.
I'd always thought of my spirituality as trying to be better, to be the good girl. And it was so unbelievable to me that God might really be a God who just wants me to be me, and to be alive and to be free and to be whole.
Through spiritual direction, I was able to allow myself to actually see God as I experience God.
And spiritual direction really was the place where I could come and say what I couldn't say out loud anywhere else, because it felt so crazy. Nobody in my life really was practicing a real deep spirituality. And I found that just staying on the surface just wasn't enough. And the more I went in, the thirstier I became. And it became this intense desire to not only know that there was a God or believe in a God, but I wanted to experience God for myself. I didn't want someone else to tell me what I should believe or not believe. And consequently, I didn't intend to fall in love. I just didn't intend to go that far in. I just wanted to get whole. And what ended up happening was that it just radically touched me at the core and changed everything.
I didn't enter spiritual direction in order to achieve a particular thing, but I think it was, and I think a lot of this was unconscious. I think a lot of it was just a desire to try to deal with some of the questions I had about my own beliefs, my own, and more than that, my own practices, I think, spiritually and religiously and so on.
It's been an opportunity for me to set the agenda, really, and to have somebody present in such a way that they're just truly listening to who I am and what my story is, and how I'm asking, the deep questions of life and where it is that I'm going in life and how God is a part of that.
You need to have someone listen to you. And you need to listen to yourself, and that's what I wasn't doing. I wasn't listening to myself before spiritual direction, and so I wasn't clear with myself about what my priorities were, what my values were, what my relationship was with God was at that point in time.
What I'm so stunned about that, when I started my journey, I imagined that I would let go of so much of who I was to become something else. And instead, what God's done is help me become more of who I am.
I hope these stories have given you just a little glimpse inside the reality of what spiritual direction can do with and for people. At Loyola, we talk to people from a wide variety of faith traditions. And increasingly, we find ourselves talking with people who are struggling with their faith tradition, but who still want to keep their spiritual life vibrant and alive. Everybody's welcome at Loyola. Besides spiritual direction, remember we offer retreats, and we also do outreach programs. Take some time, visit our website, give us a call, come in for a visit. Let's see how Loyola can partner with you to help you develop the spiritual awareness and depth that we all want. That's really our birthright. Thanks for watching, and peace.